So if you're ever kept in a psych hospital for long enough, you really pretty quickly actually realize that there's not a whole lot of difference between a psych hospital and prison. It's more or less one and the same. And you're treated like a prisoner. And here's where it gets kind of sinister as far as like how the mental health professional turns into the interrogator. So the nurse is asking you about the voices every day. Do you hear voices? Do you hear voices? Well, something really, just a change of their language that they do. They probably don't even know they do this. They say, tell me about the voices in your head. It's, well, fuck that. I didn't have any voices in my head till you started asking me so many times, do you have voices in your head? And now the little slight change of word going from do you have voices in your head to tell me about the voices in your head, that's taken one step closer. That's making the assumption for me that I do have voices in my head. And so that language of making that assumption that I have those voices puts in my head an assumption that I have voices in my head. And so, you know, in a psych hospital, you're locked in there, you can't leave. You're just forced to listen to whatever shit's been thrown at you over and over and over and over and over again, asked if you have voices in your head. Well, fuck, I do now. I do have voices in my head because it was suggested to me so many times. And so for the last several months, I've been battling and it's not even like an audible voice, it's more just like, you know, like when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like beating yourself up about something, or I mean, most people do this. Your own true self loves yourself 100% and it is incapable of saying that negativity to you. That comes from somewhere else. And so, to me, it's not even like voices in my head so much as I've been aware of all the language going on in my head. And I've then started to reverse out of the schizophrenia, identified whose voice or whose tone, who in my life is saying those things to me, or whether maybe they're not verbally saying them, but maybe the way they treat me, that's what they're saying to me. And so I started putting a name that went with those, we'll just call them for the sake of this video voices, but those sayings that were going on in my head, I put voice with that thought, and then I identified whose voice it was. Okay, that's a really bad place to be because you're being tormented by literal people that you know in your life. Okay, so then this is how you get out of it. This is to help somebody have schizophrenia, how to reverse out of it. So you've got labeled who voice that belongs to, who would be saying that negative thing to you. Then you're going to try to make that statement neutral. Or actually you're going to try to make it positive. So let's say they didn't like your hat that you were wearing, and you just have talking about your hat. Well, you picked that hat, so that must mean that you like it. And so what instead is in your mind, in your imagination, you're going to imagine and visualize that person that's saying that to you, and instead imagine them complimenting your hat. You're lying to yourself, but the person probably didn't tell you they didn't like your hat in the first place. It was just a thought in your head. And so you've got to get control of your thoughts, identify who it is, what they're saying, and then go back and in your mind imagine that same person saying something really nice about you. And then once you've got most of those voices turned into positive voices, saying positive things, it's still like, for like last month, I've just gone around saying in my own self, everybody be quiet, everybody calm down, everybody calm the fuck down, we're being calm, everybody's calm. That's pretty much why I went around saying to myself in my head for the last month, because I'm trying to get a handle on all these people and thoughts. Everybody's calm now, though. Once everybody's calmed down, that's when you go around, and instead of imagining somebody else saying that kind thing to you, because it's too many people in your head, you then put yourself there and go, here's what I would say to myself. Maybe you keep some of the people, because maybe some of the people you imagine saying cool stuff to you are actually pretty cool in your head. Keep those people. But That's gonna be a lot to manage. I only like to have a few people's voices in my head now. I have one trying to develop a voice in my head. It's like my boss. My garage is real messy, so I gotta figure out. I have an open slot for a voice in my head to tell me how to clean this shit up. I have comedians; those are allowed to stay in my head. Scientists are allowed to stay in my head. I don't talk about religion and politics. So, but anyway, I hope that someday this video can be like, transformed to help people that do have schizophrenia and have had it for much longer to figure out how to get hold of the thoughts, identify, name, replace. Grace and peace. Rasta Rafa.